Have you ever met someone who seemed completely normal until you realized they weren't supposed to exist? It started when I took a night shift job at a small hotel just outside the city. The building was old, barely filled, and the manager only hired me because I was cheap labor. My task was simple: check guests in, keep watch, and make sure the security cameras stayed on. The first few nights were uneventful. Most of the rooms were empty, and the few guests that came were quiet business travelers. But on the fourth night, a man walked in around midnight. He wore a dark coat, soaking wet from the rain, and didn't say much. He just handed me cash and asked for room 9. That wasn't strange, until I looked down at the ledger. Room 9 hadn't been used in months. The manager had sealed it after a fire accident last year. But before I could say anything, the man had already taken the key from the hook and started walking down the hall. I told myself maybe the manager had reopened it and forgot to mention it. Still, when I checked the security cameras, the feed from room 9 was black. Static. The next morning, when the manager came in, I mentioned the guest in room 9. He frowned and said, "We don't rent that room anymore. The lock's been broken since the fire." When we went to check, the door was open, but the room was empty. The bed was untouched, covered in a thin layer of dust. The bathroom light didn't work, and on the nightstand was the key I'd given him, resting neatly on a folded note. It read, "Thank you for letting me stay again." I thought it was a prank. Maybe an old tenant sneaked in. But when I checked the night's footage, I saw something that made my skin crawl. The front door opened by itself, the key disappeared from the hook, and on the hallway camera, room 9's door slowly creaked open, though nobody was visible walking through. The manager called it a glitch. But over the next few nights, things got worse. Guests started complaining about hearing knocks from room 9, the sound of running water, even a man coughing. One woman swore she saw someone standing at her door at 3 a.m., dripping wet, holding a room key. I wanted to quit, but the manager begged me to stay until month end. He said, "You'll get a bonus." So I stayed. One night, around 2:40 a.m., I was watching the security screens when room 9's feed suddenly turned on. For the first time, the static cleared. There he was, the same man in the dark coat, sitting on the bed, staring directly at the camera. His lips were moving, but there was no sound. Then the camera cut to black again. I ran down the hall, my heart pounding, and when I reached room 9, it was locked from the inside. I banged on the door, shouting, but there was only silence. Then, from inside, I heard the faint sound of a phone ringing. When the door finally gave way, the room was empty. The phone was still ringing, coming from the nightstand drawer. It was an old melted cell phone, the same kind of phone mentioned in the fire report. I answered it, and a voice whispered, "I never checked out." The next morning, the manager found me sitting in the lobby, pale and shaking. He told me the fire last year had killed only one person, a man staying in room 9. Since that night, I can't stay near any ringing phone, and whenever I pass an old building, I still check the windows. Because sometimes, I see him, still sitting by the bed in that dark coat, waiting for someone to hand him the key again.